What was I'll tell you what was hard on me. Right, well, 1970s. I'll tell you what gave me a hard life. I was about 11 years old. First, the fun. I was about 11 years old. It was 1974. My dad came home with a box. He had bought me a police scanner kit. Now, it was an open air design. In other words, it was small, but it had a plate. And it had a front panel that was connected to you connected to a plate. Nothing soldered. Everything was spring loaded. Me and my dad built it in about an hour. I was 11 years old, and maybe he helped me because maybe I would be doing something wrong. He would correct me. Now it was a fixed frequency. It was a fixed channel. It was a variable oscillator, about 5 channels. Took a 9-volt battery. The battery compartment was on that panel, on the flat part where the parts were. And it was mono, no speaker. It had a white earplug, mono. Boy, was that fun to listen to. Listen to the police. You hear a traffic stop. I mean, I got used to Dad being on the CB radio. We didn't get 40 channels till about mid. So then it was 23 channels on CB. But I love hearing my dad talk on the CB radio. Of course, television, he never turned the TV off. He always kept the television low. And I always thought the CB radio, the television had some entertainment, of course. I'd watch Gilligan's Island, for example, or any of the, other shows. But overall, I had more fun listening to my dad talk on the CB radio. Of course, then he bought me that police scanner kit when I was 11 years old. And I'd lay in bed at night, and of course I'd forget to turn it off, run the battery down. He bought me a pack of 9-volt batteries because he knew that was going to happen. But I had so much fun. Even on school night, he let me listen to it about a half hour. He was very strict. And after about a half hour, I had to turn it off and go because I had school the next day. But here was the problem. My dad would not allow me. You've heard me talk about my grandma Pitcher's home in Mainville. You've heard me talk about that, her place many a time. The problem, my dad would not allow me to take that over there with me. He was afraid. Now, my cousins wasn't mean. No, I had wonderful cousins. But my dad still thought they would play with it and maybe tear it up. He was afraid I'd leave it there. Forget and leave it there when we'd come home. So I was not allowed to take that portable, small, my police scanner kit with me. And I've talked about mind-numbing boredom when my cousins were gone. They'd be gone for a few hours riding horses down at their farm. My grandma had no radio. She had a lazy cat, did not want to play. She only had 4 channels on television. So that's when the 1970s, 1974, got mind-numbing boredom. I was so used to being home, listening to my new police scanner kit, and listening to my dad talk on the CB radio. I loved my grandma's. Back to my grandma's house. I loved her house. But when my cousins were gone, when they was not home, my grandma's house could be mind-numbing boredom. Climb a tree, walk in the backyards, smell her rose bushes for the millionth time. I just got spoiled there a little bit. And that hurt because it was the 1970s. There was no technology. It was limited. That police scanner kit was technology, but it was limited. And big limitation, my dad would not, he actually got angry at me when I kept asking him. He said, no, you would not let me take it. He said, I don't want nobody tearing it up. Your grandma may throw it away not thinking it's junk. She wouldn't know any better. He wouldn't do that. So that hurt. And, the boredom left when we got back home. But boy, my grandma's house is so used to that, got used to that. Then my cousin, there was a 95% chance my cousins were home and we could play, have fun. We could fight, but we played badminton, softball, climb trees together, listen to music. But there was that 5% chance they would be gone a few hours. And it happened 2 or 3 times, like I said before my other video, during the decade, they would take the boat and go to Lake Erie. And I had nobody to play with all day on the Sunday. My sister was too young. She was entertained. She was playing with her dolls. I was a boy. I didn't play with dolls. She did, so that kept her entertained. But I was a boy, bored out of my skull. Oh, I love my grandma's house. I hate it, especially if we was having fun playing with my cousins, hide and go seek or whatever. But when we got home, I got to listen to my police scanner. But today parents are more lenient with their kids. I see videos where kids have make or young teenagers. You see on their clock it's 12 o'clock at midnight, and they got school tomorrow. I didn't get that privilege when I was a kid back in the 1970s. You went to bed when your mom and dad told you to go to bed. That don't happen today. Parents are not near as strict. I see them come in the library. Parents tell them no, they do it anyway. I didn't do that in the 1970s. You didn't. You got a whipping. So yes, the 1970s I loved and I hated.